Okay, so there's a lot to cover here, so let's get to it, shall we? Overwatch is an incredibly fast-paced first-person shooter mixed with RPG elements and a heavy emphasis on team play. It handles as good as it looks. Its satisfyingly deeper strategy than it initially leads on leaves me wanting to perfect my hero to further help my team be better. I feel the best way to go about this is through listing my likes and dislikes while explaining them a little bit. So here's my opinion. Heroes. They're all interesting and fun. Not a single character seems to be a throwaway. They each are very individual and cater to a wide variety of people's playstyles, so there's more than likely a few characters who will be a natural fit for everyone, as well as varying levels of effort and time required to master certain ones. Each character comes with its own set of strengths and weaknesses. There is a slight skill gap where you can kind of close the distance if you're really good at playing a certain character, or if your opponent isn't very good with theirs, you can still come out on top some of the time. Widowmaker is supposed to be a counter to Mei, for example. Mei doesn't exactly have a stellar ranged attack, which means she's highly susceptible to characters like Widowmaker, but she can kill a sniping Widowmaker if the situation calls for it. Widowmakers can't strafe very fast while sniping, so it is possible to outsnipe them if you're good enough. But don't expect to replicate these types of results every time. So for the most part, your weaknesses exist for good reason, and you should take advantage of being able to switch heroes. I don't think any of the charts out there currently saying which hero is weak to which is definitive at all. I've checked a lot of them. Yes, I've slaughtered Reinhardts with Mei, but a good Reinhardt can just charge kill me instantly, with Mei of course. So I wouldn't exactly say Mei pwns Reinhardt, like some strength charts would suggest, so it's not nearly as black and white as that. Level design. It reflects the hero's abilities, making some maps more viable for certain characters at certain points. For example, you'd probably be better off rolling with a bit more kick on the fly in close quarters with like Soldier 76 or Reaper, and certain choke points make Bastion an absolute joy to clear a room with. Sound. You're unable to play this game with the sound. It seems silly, but audio cues are important to recognize when certain abilities are going off. For example, Junkrat and Hanzo's ultimates. I really like this a whole lot more than, say, just footsteps in Call of Duty. Game modes. All reflect the hero's strengths and weaknesses, making certain characters more viable over others in certain game types. An example would be Symmetria is incredibly good at defense due to her stationary turrets and her teleporter. Complex strategy. It's required as well as skill and knowledge of each hero's capabilities. I'll go into this deeper a bit later, but I want you to keep this in mind, that I do think this is a positive. The merit system. It's a system that after the match is where people can vote for a player in what the game decided was their most relevant contribution. It gives the spotlight to characters who work incredibly hard in the background but normally wouldn't take the spotlight, like Mercy, as well as those in the foreground, who take on a traditional role of wrecking people's faces, like Reaper. Character changing. It's interesting to be able to change group composition if your current one isn't being effective. Some matchups are favored more poorly than others due to strengths and weaknesses of each hero, so turning the tide of battle might mean you need to switch to another character if the situation requires it. Loot box goodies. I think these cosmetic additions are a great way to customize your character, and I enjoy opening loot boxes. There are things like skins, emotes, sprays, and a bunch of other collectibles to pimp out your heroes. Got that? Now, here are my dislikes, and just hear me out. Loot boxes. Yeah, I know, I said I liked the goodies inside them. I do, but I hate the box itself. This isn't a huge dislike, mind you, but there are something like 1,137 things, I believe, if I did the math correctly, that you can get from loot boxes, including the 3 amounts of currency you can get, which I think is 50, 100, and 150. Loot boxes scale with your level, rank, whatever the hell that number is, meaning you get them far less frequently as time goes on, as it takes you longer to level up, which is a problem since recently I found out you can get duplicates. I know they give you currency, which can be used to get that skin you've been dying to get, but the system seems set up to nudge players into purchasing loot boxes from their online store, which is fine, I guess. since it's all just cosmetic and it's not like you're paying to win, but it just feels dirty since we paid quite a lot for this game already and you're looking for more money? Come on. All I want is a badass skin for Widowmaker or Symmetria, and I feel like I have to jump through too many hoops to get all the skins and stuff that I want. But like I said, this is just a small dislike of mine. Only 4 game modes. I understand that to keep each hero's sovereignty, you need game modes that reflect and complement strategic party planning, but I believe there should have been 1 to 2 more at launch, and the ability to pick which you wanted to play. Sometimes I just want to work on my control strategy, but I am unable to do that, and with rank apparently being introduced in the future, it would be really helpful to be able to work on my weaknesses, or if I simply didn't feel like playing a certain mode. I don't dislike any of the modes, don't get me wrong, but more options are better than fewer options. Alright, so the same complex strategy that I said I liked. Remember how I said I would get into this later? Now, here it is. Plainly speaking, this is a double-edged sword, so this can be positive or negative, either way. The strategy required is so steep that usual matches that take upwards of 10 to 15 minutes in a good match can alternatively be finished in a mere 3 to 5 minutes when a random group is pitted against a pre-made, making quick play incredibly frustrating at times. I've been on the receiving end as well as the giving end of this. I understand that you'll get mismatched games and play with people you don't mesh well with every now and again. There are a number of factors explaining why you might have lost a match. They're all reasonable explanations. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say that it's unfair. I also understand that you can't change the gameplay for the sake of this, but here's my point. I'm saying it's incredibly annoying. More so than in any other game I've played competitively because of how devastatingly effective a cohesive team can be against a randomized one. I can't really stress this enough. I refuse to play the game with randoms 10 hours into the game because of how horrible some people play the game. Why? I'm aware I'm not the best player in the game. I'm not trying to say that I am, but I am a team player, and so are the people I normally play with. And we get shit done. We don't always win, but we win most of the time because our team compositions are generally pretty balanced and we communicate well with one another. No one likes losing, and it's impossible to carry your team as a single hero because of their innate weaknesses. You're eventually going to die, and I have to respawn, and if your team isn't working as a team, switching to a counter character means nothing. You cannot hold the line or carry people in this game. It isn't Destiny or Call of Duty. The $80 price tag is too pricey. We simply didn't receive enough content to justify a fully priced game. I don't disagree with the traditional business model Blizzard picked. While we may be receiving new heroes, maps, game modes, and loot box related customization upgrades for free in the future, which I'm not 100% sure about that statement for the record, we'll see when it happens, I guess, I think the game still isn't worth it. Why? Well, those who buy it are essentially pre-ordering DLC by paying the upfront full game fee in hopes that not only is the game decent and that they'll like it, but that the content coming out for it is also meeting their standard, and that they'll stick around to even play said content for that matter. Some people won't stick around, so that investment is wasted. Not that Blizzard should care, since they've already made their money. I just don't believe in paying for something before knowing what the final product is going to be, what its quality will be like, or betting on the future of a game I might not even be playing in a few months due to titles like Star Ocean. No offline content. Overwatch is online only, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But we're seeing more and more of these games as time goes on. What this means is that the game is entirely community driven. It will live and die with its community. I don't see the game dying anytime soon, however, it's something to think about, like Destiny, Diablo 3, The Division. Eventually those games will forever be lost in the ether, and for people who enjoy them, well, they just won't be able to revisit them after servers are inevitably closed. You just won't be able to, and there won't be anything that you can do about it. You can't go back and replay and play their story missions because there are none. And that leads me to story, or lack thereof. The animated shorts and comics of Overwatch are a nice touch to add more depth for players to sink their teeth into. However, I look at the personality and love that went into creating these characters in Overwatch from a design aspect and get irritated that their individual stories aren't fleshed out in the actual game. The lore and game are separated, and it's a shame when the medium to express both simultaneously in the actual fucking game has existed since the 80s and has never been better than right now at this point in time, and some games like Bungie's Destiny refuse to put that shit in the actual game. It's annoying and lazy game design. Stop it. I'm all for extending your IP into different mediums, like the StarCraft novels. They exist, and I think that's excellent. Just like Overwatch's animated shorts and comics. But you don't need to have read the StarCraft novels to know what's going on in the game. The game does an incredible job telling its story and why you should care about the characters like Kerrigan. Outside the opening cutscene, we're given nothing in actual gameplay. There needs to be a certain level of expectation for it in video games as well, because it, like comics, animated shorts, and novels, offers a unique experience in its own. You're an active participant rather than a passive one, and it's what makes video games interesting and fun from a story-driven perspective. Novels and shorts don't give gamers that. I'm not saying give us 30 hours of story-driven campaign, but you didn't even attempt at putting any of it in the game. Street Fighter V did it a whole lot better, and it's very acceptable. Each character has a brief history and a cohesive central theme and story that's going on, and you can figure that out by playing the goddamn game. Want to know what's happening with Cammy? Check out her story. It's only like 10 to 15 minutes long. All it is a string of fights with some characters and what's essentially an in-game comic. And that's all I'm asking for. That's enough. You can purchase and read the Capcom Street Fighter comics, and those are great too. But you don't need to have to read the comics to know what's going on in the game. At the end of the day, people purchase Street Fighter V for the competitive online play. Just like Overwatch, I like playing with my friends. I probably won't revisit most of the story segments for the characters, but the story is still important to me, and I'm glad that it's there, because it gives me context and a connection with the characters. Why are some developers suddenly shying away from interactive storytelling more frequently? You know the animated Tracer Widowmaker fight? Pretty amazing, right? Know what would be even more amazing? If I actually got to play that out, or had contextual story-driven offline content explaining more of the underlying lore surrounding what happened post and pre-Overwatch disbanding and why this fighting is going on in the first place. Dark Souls does a better job explaining what the hell is going on, and the Souls franchise is incredibly obscure. They offered 10 grand to the person who could make sense of it, but you know what? It was all in the fucking game. Here's my summary. I try to do reviews as objectively as possible, so I don't like giving out a rating. What I will say is, if you have a group of predetermined friends who are going to play Overwatch with you, and so long as you are only, and I stress only, going to play this game with them, or with them and then afterwards you meet people online and you decide to play with them as well, then I recommend playing this game if it looks interesting to you. However, I highly recommend not purchasing this game if you don't have friends to go in on it with you. It's an extremely brutal and frustrating game to play with people who don't work together as a team. It's simply a waste of time to play without a solid 4 or 6 friends unless you want to constantly lose matches. The complexity of team structure, appropriate hero switching, and communication can make this game an absolute joy to play with people. But because of that very strength, it's also its weakness for those who are normally accustomed to less strategy or team-based games. Now, it might seem like I hate this game. I actually don't. I think it's a lot of fun, but it's missing a lot of stuff for me. and it costs $80. As I said, I respect the developer's choice for using a traditional business model with this new IP, since having access to all the heroes is integral to victory in this game, and having to purchase all the heroes anyways would have been a pain in the ass in a free-to-play model. However, there is absolutely no appeal to gamers who can't convince their friends to play this game with them, and even then, like I said, the game is $50 at most. It's not worth the $80 without the above-mentioned content that I believe is integral to Overwatch's experience, especially since we know the story is all there, and Blizzard just refused to actually include any of it in the actual game. And that's kind of a shame, since we know Blizzard is capable of creating a solid fictional world that's endearing and fun. Alright, so I'm ready for your hate comments. But I mean, that's how I honestly feel. I don't feel like this game is, I don't feel like it's worth $80. I think it's $50 at most. I love playing this game with friends. It's so much fun. Especially when you can get like a real cohesive team together. I don't know. It's just my opinion. Take care, and thank you for watching. Bye.